Hey guys, it's Megan here. I've had a lot of email requests for a video of my favorite journaling supplies. So I thought I'd go ahead and put a video together of what I use and maybe give you a few ideas of inexpensive ways to go about doing it. The first thing is a journal. You can use any kind of book that you'd like to, or just loose leaf pages will even work, and you can bind them later with like a 3-hole punch and binder rings, or if you have a Zutter bind it all, you can do a spiral binding for them. Moleskine journals are my favorite. I use the sketch journal, which is this one. It has really great Italian cardstock inside, and it accepts paint really, really well. I really like it. This one's almost full, and I'll definitely be buying another one. I do have quite a few handmade journals that I've done. This is my latest one I finished. I've only got a few pages in it, but I'll be working in it a lot, and you'll see a lot of videos made using it. This is one I actually had a different purchase journal, and the cover got ruined, so I pulled all the pages out of it, and I created my own cover with Tim Holtz grunge board, the 12 by 12 pages, and I cut it down to the right size, and I just used hot glue in the binding to stick it all in there. And this is a handmade one I did, and I bound it with my Zutter Bind It All. I just used 12 by 12 patterned cardstock, and I folded them in half, the pages in half, so you can see that they're actually like a little pocket there. And you can put a little strip of glue inside here and create separate pages to slide in top if you want, almost like a tag. Here, let me flip some back here. What I did is I pulled out some book pages out of my favorite book that I have. Let me find it for you. I love this book, The Women in White, so I bought an extra copy of it on purpose thinking I would pull it apart. So you see I've used a lot of pages in it. So I just pulled all of those out, and I used matte medium to, oh, they all just fell, matte medium to adhere them to the cardstock pattern paper. And then I sewed around the edges of each page with my sewing machine, folded them, and then bound them in with my Bind It All. And then when that was done, I went on the top of each of the pages with white gesso that was really watered down, and put a whitewash of that over each page, so it's all ready for paint. And it's kind of cool because I kind of flipped through it. I've skipped some pages, and I'll go back to the skipped ones and do some art on them when I am in the mood. I kind of flipped through it and found pages that I was inspired by the colors, and then I just worked on that page. So that's an idea. And my good friend Connie made me this journal and put my name on it, which was really sweet of her. It's extra big, so she thought that I would have fun making some large pages. And I have yet to use it, but I am going to. I've got some good ideas going. And she just used a pad of heavy watercolor paper and then bound it with her Zutter Bind It All and personalized it. So that's really, really cool. And on to supplies. Art journaling is something that you can do really inexpensively or really expensively. It depends on what you want. My kids are running through the house and cartoons are going, so I hope you can hear me really well. There are really nice paints and supplies out there, which I do really love, but my budget doesn't always allow for. So I'll go through the different paints that I have. I have lots and lots of really cheap craft paint. Comes in tons of colors. It's available everywhere. They're super cheap. They go on sale all the time. So I have a ton of them. I probably have, I don't know, over 100 different colors. And I use them all the time. Sometimes they're really thick, and I don't like that very well. So I add a little bit of acrylic glazing liquid, which I highly recommend. Golden medium is my favorite. And also golden acrylic flow release is a lifesaver for really thick paint or paint that's maybe getting old. You can kind of revive it with using the flow release, so that's a really good one to get. I also really like golden fluid acrylics. They're actually my favorite, but I don't have very many of them. I'm going to have to slowly build up my supply of them because they're a little expensive. I do have quite a few Liquitex, which are great paint, but they're not my favorite because they're so heavy and thick. But when I use them, I do really thin them out with the flow release or glazing medium, which works really well. I have Grumbacher acrylic paints also. I have a few colors of them, and I'm really happy with them so far. I've only done a little bit with them, but I'll be working with them more. And let me shift this around. I'm going to kind of gesso. I use a lot of white gesso, so I bought it in a giant bottle, and I can't believe I'm already almost out. I also use a lot of clear, so I would highly recommend both of those for your art journals. Another have-to-have, and I've used a lot of different brands, but this one really is my favorite. Golden gel mediums are fabulous. I don't really like super glossy look in my book because a lot of my acrylics are flat, so I don't like having lots of flat pages and then boom, there's some really super shiny stuff in the corner. I don't like that. So I use the soft gel matte, and it works really well, and I use it for adhering my book pages or collage elements, and I will also use it sometimes to mix with my paint a little bit, which works really good. I also really like Liquitex modeling paste. It's really inexpensive, and it makes really great backgrounds texture. I like to squeeze a little bit on my page and then take an old credit card or like a store membership card, and I drag it through the modeling paste and then let it dry, and then you can paint over it. I definitely use a lot of glitter. So my favorites are Stickles glitters. They come in a nice little tube, lots of colors, they've got a fine tip, and they hold their shape. So if you do a fat blob of this, it'll stay. So the other kind of glitters I really like, I like powder glitter if I'm going to sprinkle it on top of like a gel medium. That works really well, but I really like these because there's no mess involved. There's no powder flying all over your house. You don't find it in your carpet every time you vacuum, and but it really does hold its shape. So if you want to do a really thick line of something, it's going to hold its shape and it's going to stay real bubbled up. I also like Studio G Sparkle Writers. They're fairly new. They're really inexpensive. They're only $1 at the scrapbook store. They come in quite a few different really cool colors. But the drawback on them is they're really gooey. So when you actually go to write, I mean, I don't know if you can see that or not, but even gooey kind of out of the cap. I don't like them for writing or anything that's going to be really fine because they are so gooey, it's hard to get it exactly where you want. But you've seen on some of my pages where I'll kind of squirt some glitter around, then I use my finger and I smear it around. So it's kind of in the background. But yeah, I really like that one too, and I like the price. So, and another thing I really like is mica powders, mica flakes, and glimmer mist bottles. They work great. I mix a lot of my own colors using the Tim Holtz spray washes. Here's an empty one, use a glimmer mist bottle, and I pour, they just screws off. I pour a little bit of my Tim Holtz ink in there. You can add a little bit of water to water it down if you want. I put a little bit of mica powder in it, shake it up real well, and then spray it on my pages. And use my heat tool to dry it if I'm being impatient. It does settle on the bottom, so every time you go to use it, you do have to kind of shake it up and get that mica powder mixed back into the ink. Mica flakes are really cool. I did a mermaid painting and put mica flakes all over the tail, and it was really real cool looking.